So, David, your book, God or Mammon, Jesus gave us a clear choice. You can't serve both. Firstly, how do you actually define mammon? What is it? And what's your book trying to do?
Well, I think in some versions of the Bible, mammon is translated money. I think that's misleading. It's part of mammon, but it's not the whole. I think mammon is a system. So it's bigger than money, but it's a system of which money plays a key part, which comes to increasingly control the whole of society, and then results in values that are almost the exact opposite of what Jesus teaches us in the Sermon on the Mount.
So where do you see the similarities between your book and the book Harvey's written called Decolonising Mission?
I think there's a huge amount of overlap. We're basically both wrestling with the same issue of power that is used in a way that is illegitimate and destructive. I think Harvey's concentrates on historical development of colonialism, and especially in relation to his own personal experience. I think mine looks more at a post-colonial world in which power is still exercised in a way that is deeply dehumanizing and results in massive gulf between the rich and the poor.
Harvey, you grew up with a family legacy of living under colonialism and some of the worst examples of colonial behaviour. How did mission get tied up with colonialism?
I do think that, the way I argued in the story is that the way the whole enterprise of mission developed really depends on European Christians, Europe's intention, desire to, and belief that God has given them the world to dominate and civilize. And so the impetus to dominate and civilize works very well when mission becomes part and parcel of that.
How can we get mission disentangled from that kind of colonial outlook?
I think the easier way to start is what Jesus does in the Gospels, in that first he is preaching, he is leading this group of disciples in the context of empire, in the context of colonialism, in the context of colonization. And he sends these colonized people to go and make disciples around the world without giving them any imperial power, without taking them to Rome first. And so the message that he preaches, the gospel of the kingdom, really feels to me like it's an antithesis of what empires seek to do in terms of violence, in terms of colonial and capital economic colonialism and all those things. The gospel of Jesus, the kingdom, the gospel of the kingdom of God pushes back against that. And really, I do think that if we go back to that, just a simple gospel of the kingdom, disciples making disciples for Christ, we will do away with a lot of the colonial legacy of mission.
For anyone that's watching this, what question would you give them to ponder to get further into these issues?
I think I would ask them to seek to understand the kind of forces that are at work shaping our world, which may not always be visible or obvious, but are the instruments of division and injustice and of the gap between the poor and the wealthy, and encourage them to reflect on that kind of question and explore it more.
God so loved the world that he gave his son. He did not give us an emperor. He gave us his son. And so, what does that mean to us today? What does that mean to our societies today? can we actually imagine mission if we keep using that word? Or can we just imagine the sharing of the gospel, the good news of Jesus, the good news of the lordship of Jesus around the world without the tendencies to colonize and dominate one another? I do think that that's something to wrestle with. If mission is going to continue, if the sharing of the gospel of Jesus continues in the world, we need to find out how do we do this without empires, without imperial help, without empire tendencies, just without empires. Let's just go back to do what Jesus wanted us to do, as people at the margins, reaching other people at the margins, so to speak.
Anything else you'd like to say?
Just that I think wrestling with these issues, asking the kind of questions that we're asking in the books, is really crucial to the health and well-being of Christianity as a worldwide movement in the future.
Mission without Mammon is possible. Mission without empire is possible. Can we find out how to do that? Thank you.